we go. It's ringing him. It's ringing him. Buddy.
What's up?
Now we're back. Now we're back in action.
Yeah, man. As we're working the bugs out on this thing, I've realized I get like 2 or 3 notifications, and it takes a little while to get a green join icon to pop up. So it's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, it's like I add you in the initial video, but like once you join in the live stream and I like click down at the bottom, it does like the ringing, like it's actually adding you.
All right.
Oh, what's up, man?
Oh, dude, I'm swamped. Like, it's actually,
that's kind of what I wanted to start out talking about. Is we left off. You were making a lot of cages. You had those days off work. Obviously, some stuff's gone on in between. It's been quite a while since we got in front of everybody. But how's some cages coming?
I've got like 5 due tomorrow, and my back order now is up to about 35 or 40. So cool. It's wide open. Late coming down from Virginia to pick up 5 enclosures with heat tape and thermostat tomorrow, and I'm anxious to get it done and see a smile on her face. You know, it's just
absolutely
a work in progress, and it takes time. But you know, quality takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But
yeah, absolutely.
You know, and like you said before we get started. How have you been? How are you doing?
Man, it's like a mixed emotions right now. It's been lost my brother, obviously. Just didn't see that coming at all. Hit me for a whirlwind.
Right.
My older brother, he was 29. I'm 27. He'd have been 30 May 7th. So it's been rough, man, but it's definitely brought me closer to my family, to my wife, to my mom, to my brothers, my dad. I mean, it's really, I've just put everything else behind me and just been focusing on them. On top of our gender reveal for our baby is Sunday. So I've had like downs and then way ups, man, where I'm just so happy to have this baby and
right.
Fresh life as I lose life. So I mean, it's just crazy how the world works, and I guess God gave me a baby at the right time. So,
well, obviously everybody's excited for you and the baby and all that situation, and saw where Travis Warren and his wife just recently had a baby, and congratulations.
Yeah, I saw it.
Congratulations to them, and you know, obviously for you, man, my condolences. And I'm sure the community also shares that sentiment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously,
I got a lot of good feedback from people. You know, as you do this hobby, you gain a lot of close friends, almost like family. So you know, when that stuff happens, I've had just a tremendous amount of love pour out to me, and obviously you, and then everybody else, Keith, Jim, everybody just been close, checking in on me, talking to me, and means a lot. So,
well, that's what it should all be about, you know, in the community. People should stick together, especially in times of need.
For sure.
You know, we definitely don't need a lot of infighting and drama. That's for sure.
No, absolutely, and just in a way, it just makes you appreciate, you know, just every day. I've just really been thinking about that here recently. Like my mind's just been so far in the future and like what I want to do, just not in snakes, just in life in general.
Right.
And I've never just thought about just living in that day, and I've been doing that for quite some time, man. It's honestly made me just a happier person, to be honest.
Well, that's the bright side to loss, is that sometimes you find this newfound appreciation for life.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of where it's been at. And you know, I couldn't have done it without my family, without my wife and stuff like that. But, you know, as well as you guys as well, you know, checking in on me and showing love.
Right.
So, I mean, it's been ups and downs, to say the least. But, you know, it's going good. And as far as the snakes and stuff, I mean, I've just been, you know, kind of quiet and not really so much in the community as I should be or I need to be. But, you know, I've been just taking care of the snakes, and you know, it's kind of my, like, just time alone where I throw on music, clean, you know, just, I don't know, just kind of my way of just thinking. really. So it's been fun.
Yeah, every distraction is always welcome.
Yeah, for sure. But obviously going on the topic of snakes, I seen you had the clutches, man. Your clutches hatched. That's some
Two
cool
so far.
stuff, some weird stuff. We'll get into that.
Two
We'll
so
get into
far.
the weird stuff on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's good to see you back and get that clutch underneath your belt. And
Yeah. Two of them. One is establishing. I've already had several that have eaten from that clutch. Still waiting on 2 more to shed. And then
that's a great feeling, man.
yeah.
And then you ain't got to deal with them.
And then the most recent babies, they're still sitting in the eggs. You know, they're taking a few breaths and blowing some bubbles and getting ready to crawl out and get out of that.
So why don't you tell the people the clutches, like which hatched?
The first one that hatched was from the Tiger Triple Het that I got from you guys. She was bred to a Phantom Velvet genetic striped tiger. And there were a lot of questions, a little bit of flack about whether or not they were genetic stripes, whether or not.
Man, that stuff's hard to tell with the tiger too. I mean, that is a tough animal. And then with Phantom in there, the way what Phantom Tiger does together, just Phantom Tiger together is just crazy.
Yeah,
They can be striped out or.
It is, but you know, my thing is the proof's in the pudding. If you kind of look at what it produced,
yeah,
he couldn't have produced super tigers unless he was a tiger. He couldn't have produced phantoms unless he was a phantom. And he couldn't have produced normals with a tiger unless he was himself less than a super tiger. So, you know, he's completely striped from head to tail perfectly. So he's obviously not a super tiger. To me, that proves he is a genetic stripe. He's a visual genetic stripe. If you have a visual genetic stripe, then you know what.
And what was the eggs on that? How many eggs?
Man, she laid a small clutch. It was quite a few slugs. Most people call them slugs. I call them duds. But there were quite a few of those. And then, of course, lost about 3 eggs early on in the beginning. And then when it came time to cut the eggs open, there was one I had to cull that was very badly deformed. There was
you get that sometimes.
It happens. And then there was one that was underdeveloped, had died in the egg. So 10 eggs was what was good and actually hatched out for me, which, you know, when I came into this year, the goal was in my first year of getting back into this to produce 1 clutch. Well, I mean, now I've got 4 under my belt this year with another one gravid that, you know, you were involved in. And so,
you know, absolutely. Yeah, it's doing pretty good, man.
It's a lot more.
You picked up some good stuff. And yeah, absolutely. And that's it leads me into another topic is, you know, when new people get into the hobby and, you know, I feel like some people's expectations are just so high that it just makes you just almost disappointed in a sense. Like when you don't reach those expectations in the first year, you're getting retics. You know, some like me being a young kid, I didn't have money to buy a breeder female. So I raised up some females and I bought, you know, a yearling here and there. But my first year, I never thought like, now I'm going to get a clutch.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just, I didn't have a breeder female. So that was impossible to put that. But I just feel like some of the beginners just get in and they just set, like you said, you bought a good amount of females. You bought a bunch of babies as well, so you're growing up some as well. And then you bought, you know, some yearlings, and then you bought some adults, and then you bought some, you know, 2-year-old animals that'll grow up, maybe breed later this year. I mean, this was last year, so they're 3 now, so maybe breed later this year or the following. So, you know, I just feel like for you to only say, yeah, I just want 1 good clutch under my belt, like that's like, you know, that's very modest and humble because you never know kind of what these animals are going to do. moving an animal to a different location may throw her off a cycle, and I want her to breed. You may have to wait another year. So, I mean, it's good hearing you say, like, you just wanted, one clutch under your belt when you had, how many females do you think could have produced? 5, 6?
More.
Maybe more.
Maybe more. Maybe more. I brought a few into the. I brought a few proven females into the collection late in the season, and a few others that were unproven that are still adults that came in like probably December. It was late in the season, and some of them may be gravid. I really don't know. I need to do a little bit better job keeping up with that, but. Yeah, there's more possible.
It can be tough, man, honestly. And that's kind of thing, if you have a female that's on the heavier side, it's harder to see that ovulation. It's harder to, and that's what, just trial and error. What I'm learning just going into this season is I'm keeping my females a little smaller. I mean, when I say smaller, not like skinny, but like smaller where I can see the swell. And it helps a lot. I know you got some pretty bigger females as well as, you got a variety of everything. So
I wouldn't say
some people may give you flack for jumping in and buying adults, but you bought everything. Like you bought, from babies to yearlings to 2-year-olds to breeders. I mean, so it's not like you're skipping steps. You're doing it all at one time.
That's the thing. I went from 0 to 100 miles an hour. A lot of people will do one of two things. They'll either buy a few adults and try to jump straight into breeding, or they will buy a lot of babies and raise them up slowly and take baby steps along the way and learn as they go. Well, I was a little different just because I was a previous breeder. I'd gotten out for a while, and getting back into it, I knew what I was doing. I knew the system. I knew the game. I knew the market. I knew the majority of the genetics. Of course, I was a little rusty and needed to brush up on some things. But for the most part, I wanted to go straight into a collection. I wanted babies to raise. I wanted adults to breed. And I wanted to hit the ground running. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
The way I handled it.
And that's nobody else's business or kind of what you do in your own mindset. That's you. You know what I mean?
Everybody's and that's one of the things you and I have talked about is we might say that people should do well. Some people might say that things should be done a certain way, or things should be done another way, and that's everybody's situation is different. I'll be the first to agree. If you don't have any experience in retics, you probably should start out with a baby and learn that animal and let it grow and, develop with it. If you're somebody that has bred Burmese pythons before and you want to jump straight into retics, it might not be the worst idea to go ahead and buy adults. They are a little different than Burmese, but I'm not going to judge somebody for doing something their way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll read a few comments real quick. I got who we got? We got Richard Payne saying, "What up, boys? What up, Richard?" Good guy. He's actually bought a few babies off me as well, and I gave him a few cages, and he drove down, and I met him. Cool dude.
Yeah.
Jared Powell's one of my best friends. Doesn't really get into snakes, but he enjoys just conversation. So he's tuning into the podcast, and he said, "Good conversation, gentlemen. Appreciate you, Jared." And we got Big Jake in the house. Jake, what's up, buddy?
Going on.
So so that just leads me into the thing also where it's just like, in a sense, when I was younger, I'm glad people didn't deny me of getting retics because, I couldn't have learned and grew hands-on. I mean, without hands-on as just looking on a computer. I mean, it's just two totally different things. Yeah. You need that hands-on. You need that experience with them. So I would just say, I'm glad I never got denied getting these retics. And I was a younger age when I first got my first retic. Obviously, be responsible, do your research, look up caging, look up heating. All this stuff can get expensive. But if you have a good paying job or just a stable job, you have money, you have income, and you want to spend it, you know, that's your choice, and you just choose a reputable breeder.
Rick is asking, what size realistically are you breeding the females? Personally,
yeah, you can touch on that, because you got some smaller ones, and I bred some smaller ones last year.
Yeah, I mean, personally, for me, it's not so much the size, it's the age. And I feel like if they were in the wild, in nature, they would breed if they were ready. They wouldn't breed if they weren't ready.
Absolutely.
We really don't dictate that. The animal decides that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like last year or 2 years ago, I was having a discussion in Tinley, you know, a bunch of guys around the table, and we were just talking about, you know, sizes, this and that. And some good breeders were telling me, you know, if a female goes off food and she wants to breed, that is her telling you that she is capable of having eggs, producing babies. Will they be fertile? No, but it's still letting her go through that cycle and produce. Maybe she drops fertiles, maybe she drops infertiles.
Exactly.
But and last year, and like it's like as soon as I came home from Tinley, I had a Machino Tiger, smaller, probably she was probably 9 foot, maybe 25 pounds, 30 pounds, maybe. And she was almost 4 years old, smaller girl, and she just went off food, and I bred her, and she gave me 12 healthy eggs, all hatched. So yeah, it's 3 years or older, I would say they can go. I've heard people saying they got females that go at like 2.5, but you know, basically they'll tell you. But 3 years and older, you know, some females we breed a Titan. I mean, they didn't breed Keith. The first pods he had, he didn't get clutches out of the first pods for 5 years, 6 years. So
yeah,
and they were plenty big enough, but it's just when they develop that sexual maturity and they want to produce eggs and follicles, and then you know that's just when they tell you you can never like rush an animal.
no,
You know, you can feed them and get them big, but you're not gonna develop that what is it? Just
there's not a system. There's not a system for making a female breed, and there's no way.
No.
There's no way to say for sure based on size or age that a female is ready. So if that's what Richard's wanting, it's like a threshold. She may breed at 25 pounds. She may breed at 80 pounds. Each female's different. For some, they may start at 3 years. For others, they may not start until they're 5 years old. There's just a million factors that play into that. Genetics, environment, diet, cage space sometimes is a factor. You know, the animal wants to be comfortable.
Thermoregulate. If you let them thermoregulate really good, it helps. I mean, you know, you can't just keep a female hot all the time and then her wanting to breed. It's just probably not going to happen. A lot of my females will go down to the cooler side and get off food. I got big, you know, cattle trough water bowls. They'll wrap around the water bowl, you know, get on that cool side. So.
Yeah, Richard, you can try that. Not in my experience.
Yeah, Barry White definitely helps. It helps. It helps me at least. I'm in there grooving, two-stepping, waiting on my females to breed.
I wish there was a formula. I wish there was a magic button you could push and say, okay, good thing, you breed.
Because there's some females I have not got to breed yet.
Right.
And funny thing is, I've only got 3 clutches this year, which is, it's been a weird year just for us in general. I mean, a lot of guys in Kentucky, it's just been weird. You know, Jim and Keith are both kind of feeling like it's just been a weird year. I don't really understand it, but you know, a lot of slugs this year. You know, eggs are going bad in the incubator. Some females are just reabsorbing, don't want to breed.
Yeah,
and that just happens.
And
I think if you're not like a invested, you know, hobbyist, then it just those are the moments when people give up.
It happens.
When just things don't go their way, and then boom, that's when you see big collections up for grabs. So it's not always rainbows every year. You know, you may have one really good year and then the next 2 suck, or you may have one sucky year and the next 10 are good.
And then, you know, like you say, sometimes you get a female that skips a year. You know,
Yep.
Nothing you can do just because she's ready, just because she's bred before. doesn't mean she's going to be a repeat breeder every single year.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is, that Machino Tiger I'm talking about last year bred early and was small. I mean, I got her like triple the size right now. She looks good. She's in an 8-foot, just looks awesome.
Yeah.
Probably 13 foot, probably 65, 75 pounds, maybe 80 pounds. She ain't breeding. She just eating. Eating, shedding, eating, shedding, eating, shedding. Doesn't want to breed yet. So, she may miss this year, and that's perfectly fine. But it's weird, man. Obviously, they can't speak English, so it's not like we can ask them.
Yeah.
So,
well, see,
just kind of gotta understand the snake.
I ran into a lot of that with English bulldogs, and sometimes you have an English bulldog that's ready, and a buddy of mine had somewhat worse luck than me trying to breed his English bulldogs. He's got one that she'll cycle, she'll go in heat, she won't get pregnant. Nothing he does gets that dog pregnant. That was one of the reasons. That was one of the reasons I sold out and got out of the English bulldogs. I was seeing some disappointments there, and I enjoyed the little bit of success I had with Retics and just wanted to get back into it. And like you said,
absolutely.
For some people, maybe they've got the means to do this or do that. For me, a lot of my means was just trading off English bulldogs. As a matter of fact, this
way to go, man.
This was picked up off an English bulldog trade.
Nice. It's a good looking snake.
Yeah, I don't know.
Aging well.
I think she's golden child. I'm not real sure. It's hard to tell. But both of them that I got from Robert Murray in Rayford, North Carolina, they've been excellent. They've had perfect vision. They've helped problems, and they're both potentially more than just super phantoms. But won't know until they
hard to tell on those all white snakes.
I love them, man. I love them.
Yeah, sure. I'm right there with you. So let's get into ask you about the cages already. Boom. Doing good. As far as the cages, do you have any like new designs or like sneak peeks that you're thinking about, or just kind of going with what's working? Or
I mean, if it ain't
you're building not just snake cages, but like lizard cages. You're doing any dimension, right?
Yeah, I do some custom builds. I've got one that I'm building this thing for a Tegu. How you pronounce it? Tegu. There you go.
There you go.
This thing is 8 feet long, 4 feet tall, 4 feet deep. I mean, it's big enough.
That's huge.
It's huge, yeah. And it's going to weigh hundreds of pounds. But that's a custom build. That's not something I build on a regular basis. Yeah, but I'll build cabinet models, arboreal models. Outfitted that trailer for the Fresh Start Rescue group.
Yeah, that's awesome. Where can people go to see that? On your page?
Fresh Start Rescue in North Carolina. Fresh Start Rescue has a Facebook page, and that's owned, operated, founded, I'm not sure the exact term, but managed by a guy that's a former police officer from here in the Wilmington, North Carolina area. And he's a herp hobbyist just like us, and he was shot in the line of duty years ago. I think he medically retired, and Fresh Start Rescue, him and his wife, that's what they do. They go around.
That's a good meaning too. That's a good name behind it.
Yeah.
Fresh Start.
Yeah. Applies to him and the reptiles they rescue.
You all got to go over to that page, drop a like, and check it out, because that trailer he did was phenomenal. Awesome.
Thank you.
And that would be like a good, obviously that guy that goes around and probably does shows, maybe like schools and stuff, or does he?
The majority of what they're doing is educational, and it's also fundraising. So when they go set up the trailer, it's just for tips. If you don't want to pay, you just want to walk through there and enjoy it, then I think they're okay with that. I don't know if they pay an admission or a door charge. I think it's just tips. And then every dollar that's donated goes into feeding their rescue animals. Strictly nonprofit.
It's a cool way just to keep your hobby going and not try to be out of pocket a lot. Obviously, sometimes you got to come out of pocket, but
yeah,
that's cool stuff, man. And that trailer was amazing.
Man, thank you. I appreciate it. Really, a lot of work. But most of the stuff I try to build is the cookie cutter stuff, because that's what's easy. That's what's fun and fast. And you know,
What works too.
but I do enjoy challenge. So I've got,
Absolutely.
I just completed one of my hatchling racks over here. It's 3 wide and 8 feet tall and goes from floor to ceiling.
I seen that. I think I seen like an update of you doing it. How many tubs it hold across?
3 across. I don't remember how many, like 18 tall or something. Just all the way to the ceiling.
Yeah, it looked good, man.
I gotta take it apart and put heat tape to it. I just gotta.
Might have to talk about getting me a little setup.
I got all kinds of this stuff sitting around.
Beautiful. That's beautiful stuff. And that'll lead us into this other question I got. I got a question. On your cages, do you prefer heat tape or heat panels? And what's your reason?
Okay, so for anybody getting started, that's who I'm talking to here. If you're in the hobby, if you've got your preference, you know, stick with what works for you. For new people, I'll say this. If you're going to have a small collection and you don't mind spending a little extra money for a radiant heat panel, it's a good way to go because it's safe, especially if it's operated with the right types of thermostats.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a cheapskate. I'm sorry. I'll just be honest with you. It's hard for me to invest thousands and thousands of dollars into things like heat tape and upper end thermostats for a massive collection.
Yeah.
So to help,
I understand that.
To help take care of my large collection, I had to go the cheaper route with heat tape and cheaper thermostats. And I know that some thermostats are prone to failures, but a lot of that is attributed to probe disconnects, faulty probe cords, things like that. I'm a stickler. I check my probes and thermostats like twice a day, every day. I don't want to have a catastrophic failure. I don't want to lose a snake from cooking it. You know, there's way too much money invested here to be taking things, you know, to chance. So that's my reasoning. That's my logic. And so far it works for me. So far, you know, you see it in the posts. I've got eggs incubating. I've got females that are laying. You know, it's working. So.
Absolutely. I think personally, just for me, like you were saying, it's not that you're a cheapskate, but it's just people can make good products without, you know, breaking the bank in a sense. Like Inkbird heat thermostats, dude, phenomenal. I run one on every cage because I had a lot of herb stats, and you know, could just be coincidence on my end, but my probes went bad a lot.
Yeah.
You know, your probes, and then they beep, and then, you know, the alarms where the Inkbirds are, I think they went up in price now that everybody's buying them, but they were $20, $25.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got a good discount if you bought multiple. So I literally have every 8 foot on its own Inkbird, and I run 120 watt heat panels. And some cages I put 80s like on the top ones because, you know, the room stays a little warm. But yeah, I'm a big heat panel kind of guy as well. I will say the newer heat panels with that USB plug-in in the back, don't know why they did that. Every snake pulls that out, and they're just dangling when I come in. So you got to check those a lot. But like, I've had some problems where the USB where it plugs in fries a little bit, and you got to they got to ship you a new cord to plug it in.
Give me a quick second.
Absolutely. Yeah, but like I was saying, the radiant heat panels is the way to go. If you can get the old school, dude, that's what I need.
That's what I use for all of my LED lights, any radiant heat panels that I install, anything that's got electrical wiring in the enclosure. I can cut this down.
That's what I need. I need to do that. Yeah,
absolutely. Screw it in there and channel lock over the wiring so that the snake can't pull it apart. They can't disconnect the USBs. And it's pretty cheap stuff.
I'm probably just being
You can either slide it apart and slide it back together, or you can just hold it like that and just snap it.
You gotta send me a link to that because I need to do that for sure.
Amazon. Everything's on Amazon.
Absolutely, 1000%. Yeah, but the USB that threw me off. The new one, I don't know what it's for. Maybe they were having faults with the other ones, but I have some older ones that are just straight wired with the light on them. I like the new ones don't have a light. They're just solid black with no light. I like that light to check to see if it's working.
Yeah.
You know, you don't always want to put your hand in there and touch it and feel it. If that little light's on and you know it's working. But I use, obviously, heat panels. You probably can't use them for a rack system. I'm sure somebody's trying to invent that. But
you're talking about reaching into an enclosure. That reminds me of another life hack I just came up with. Now, bear in mind, I might be reinventing the wheel here. Somebody else may have already thought about this. If they have, I haven't seen it. This was just my own little idea. But I got thinking about reaching into some of these deeper enclosures, especially the bottom ones, and trying to reach water bowls and things like that. And I thought, man, it'd be nice if there was a way to fill up the water without reaching in there. So I came up with an idea. I've got these sprayers, nozzles, that have the screw threaded tip on the end of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I took another length of hose, screwed it onto the sprayer, and then cut the hose so it basically looks like a gasoline nozzle.
Ah.
So I can reach in there with the hose, avoid risking getting bitten. If the bowl looks clean, the water looks clean, I don't have to worry about taking it out necessarily. I can just stick that hose in there and then control the flow with the nozzle.
That's pretty cool. That's genius mindset.
It's been a lifesaver. Like, and it's little things like that when you have a huge collection that every second
you get excited about the most.
Every second of time you can save adds up to minutes, maybe hours. So
for sure,
you got to be efficient. You know, when you have a large collection, everything you do has to be efficient.
Yeah, I would say I don't like using the word cut back or sold off, because I really didn't. I just focused on, you know, the stuff I wanted to make. So like I have like the perfect amount of snakes right now where it's just like it's not overwhelming. I get in there, jam out, clean them all up, and be done. You know, with the babies coming, then it'll be a little longer. You know, some you'll have to force feed, some will eat on their own. You know, cleaning babies can be a meticulous thing. So yeah, it's been those little life hacks as well with me. Just, you know, able to just move snakes around a little faster and clean up a little faster. Buying the paper, I buy, you know, rolls of paper. I just cut them, throw them in there, cut them, throw them in there, and it just works better than I used to use nothing but newspaper, finding good newspapers, putting them down. So like that little stuff, I mean, you're spending some money on the paper, obviously, but, you know, it just saves you so much time. Time is money.
You're going to have to spend money no matter what. It's all about,
absolutely.
You know, it's all about finding what works best for you, but also what works on your budget. And I've tried both things. Right now I'm in the middle of using brown paper in some of my enclosures. I'm using shavings in other enclosures. I'm trying to see what's easiest for me to clean. And the one thing I'll say that I'm experiencing right now with the paper is if they urinate, it's a puddle. Like, it doesn't absorb, it sits in there. And if you are really busy and you don't have time to clean it out that day, then you feel like you're neglecting your animal. And when I put shavings in there, if they pee, it doesn't look as bad, it doesn't smell as bad, it gets absorbed. And then when I go in there to clean it up, I don't have urine like dripping all over the floor. I don't know. What?
Yeah, you just run into those, you know, that's the pro. And then the cons is, you know, mites can get over infested in the bedding. It can be tough to fight off those little tricks to keep mites. And then, you know, you miss some on the bedding and you may not be able to see it, and then it causes problems.
Knock on wood.
Absolutely. Yeah, we try not to have them. It just, you know, want to pop up here or there, and then, you know, Frontline is the man. So
and that's where different people do stuff, different things. Like we've talked before, and you use Frontline. It works for you. Yep. I've read where other people say, "Oh, Frontline killed their snake." Well, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But then I use something totally different, It works for me, but does it make you wrong for using Frontline, or does it make me wrong for using my product?
No, absolutely not. And it all can work. We're totally different. I will say Frontline does have a stronger smell. So if you're going to use Frontline, maybe in the cage, you need to let it air out for quite some time. And then if you spray it on the snake, not too much, just rub it down with a glove. And, still, I mean, sometimes the old method works good of just a drop of Dawn soap, put them in some water.
It doesn't hurt anything. It's a lot safer.
And when I move my snakes and like clean snakes, I soak majority of them. They pretty much all get soaked. So, knock on wood, I don't have a mite problem either. So, which is a good thing. But like we were talking about babies. Oh, go ahead. Do your thing. Do your thing.
I know we talked briefly about discussing the market and prices and values, and what I joke about often is the allure and the mystique of the $25,000 python.
I don't have that money.
No, I don't either. And
nor could I gut myself to spend that money. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about, the market fluctuates. I think there's a lot of different people in the hobby, good and bad. To each their own. Some people are in to make that world's first, to get the money, but they enjoy the animal, but money's there. And, some people, you got to spend money to make money. So when those new morphs come out, first one to get it is normally first one to come to market with it. So
yeah, and
I commend everybody that wants to spend the money and get it. I'm patient. I'll wait. If I really enjoy something and I think I want it, I will spend the money on it.
And it's sad though. I think what really also disheartens people, and it's another reason why some people get out of the game, out of the hobby, is that they buy a snake for a certain value, say $1,000, just to throw a round number up there, and they buy another one for $1,000, and they breed them together, and they expect to get $1,000 each for the babies. But it doesn't work like that. It never has. It never will. And
that's the market.
Well, most of the time, it's like that.
Yeah, true.
But, case in point, and I've still got this screenshot on my computer where in 2012, when I was taking a break from the market, from pythons in general, I was still keeping up with things. I was still surfing the web, following different stuff. And that's when a pied retic in 2012 sold for $25,000. Now what do they cost? $600, $700, $800, depending on the breeder, depending on the genetics. I'd
say they're roughly in the 700 range, 800 range.
Right.
A lot of people get a lot more, higher white. I mean, there's different variations on them, but yeah, it's nowhere near 25,000.
But it's that $25,000 snake that brings a ton of people into the hobby. I can't tell you how many times we've been talking to people and they say, how much does a snake sell for? Oh, yeah, typically $100, $200, $300. But then when you tell somebody there have been snakes that have sold for $25,000, it blows their mind. And, maybe that brings people into the hobby for the wrong reason. I get that. If they're in it to make money, if they're not passionate about it, they're not going to stay here. But a lot of people are often wondering when they have snakes and they've bred, how much should they price them for? Or why isn't their snake selling at the price they're asking? And there's so much that goes into that where people not only struggle, but I'll just say they outright fail. And a lot of it, just because, and this is just an example, we all know who the top breeders are. No cause to name them. If they have a particular snake, they can get more money for that particular snake than you or I. A lot of people don't understand why. But the reason is because of the reputation. ultimately it all boils down to supply and demand. And it doesn't just mean supply or demand for a particular genetic. Sometimes it means demand for a particular person's snakes based on their reputation.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of people out there that catch hell for being big into getting followers on Instagram or for trying to get likes or subscribers on YouTube. But they might not,
because those people feel like those people are in it for the wrong reasons. But it is, like you said, supply and demand. It is a totally different world than when those people started. And if you don't adapt, then you're kind of just going to fail. So, I mean, the social media is the way to sell your animals.
correct.
Where some social medias are cutting out sales of animals, but it's still your reputation. It's your name. They can find you other places.
It's your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. You're selling your brand. You're selling yourself. Like, just with just a communication, somebody may hit your inbox. They don't have money, but they want to know about a snake at the moment. If you give them good information and good vibes and they like who you are and they like the pictures you send them of the snake, then theory is they may come back and buy that snake.
Exactly.
And when they buy a snake, they may tell their friends who they bought the snake from. And then that friend may tell his friend. So, I mean, that's why just a good communication and just a good relationship needs to get built with everyone you run into, where it's some people are slamming people's names here and there and this and that and this and that in the community, which for one is hurting us in the long run. And for two, it's just hurting your brand. You may get, those certain people to follow you, like a cult following where they're following you just because, they feel like they understand you. But in theory, some people just don't care about other people's feelings. So it's just, it's a weird world we live in.
Well, the market is very tricky, and a lot of people don't understand why did a $25,000 snake in 2012 get cheaper. They don't understand that when you've got that original animal that's in high demand, everybody wants it, you've got a very small supply, huge demand. That is the law of supply and demand. That is what dictates the value of an animal. And an animal is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. So,
yeah,
you and I both know there's several different people, several different pages that auction off animals. And sadly, some of those people catch hell for running auctions. Like it's, oh, that's unprofessional, or they shouldn't be auctioning an animal. It's their animal. If they want to auction it off, let them. I've bought some auctioned animals. But one of the reasons I like to follow those auctions is it tells you what those animals are worth sometimes. If people aren't willing to pay a lot of money for it, it's probably not worth a lot. Now, granted, one of the issues is that those auctions may be limited to 24 hours, and people are on the spot, and they have to make an on-the-spot payment at the close of auction. That does affect prices a little bit. It's a little different when somebody can't just sit there and make a, payment plan, or,
yeah,
things
absolutely.
like that. So, I don't know.
For sure. And like you said, it's just the market just, and especially with the retics, man, if you have a male and you have, and maybe it's not a recessive gene, all right, and it's the new codom. If you breed it to 10 females, 5 females, whatever, and these females, let's just say they're good females, proven breeders, they're averaging 40 eggs, that's a lot of babies. That is a lot of animals. Maybe the odds don't line up in some sense, but you're pushing that animal out.
Yeah.
And you're making a combo. So you're making more than what that animal originally was. So that's when the price starts, dropping, because they're getting produced. These retics lay big clutches. They can have a lot of babies. People can produce a lot. If you're able to house them and feed them and you sell them, then there can be a lot of babies produced and sold, in just one season through one person.
And one of the phenomenons with the market that I find really fascinating is the fact that one particular genetic can actually compete with other genetics for sales. It's not just breeder versus breeder. Sometimes it's the buyer sitting there saying, well, do I really want a phantom, because I like the Motley. And Motley's been around, I think, just a little bit longer than Phantom. But at the same time, now these genetics are competing with each other. So it's that. And then you got to look at Burmese pythons. Now, okay, the buyer's having to make a decision. Do I want to buy the Retic or do I want to buy the Burmese? Maybe they've got a lot of money to spend, but they choose to invest it in a pied Burmese instead of an ocelot Retic.
True. And that's another thing too of, it's not like everyone's handed the same playing cards where it's, you may focus on anthrax stuff and I may focus on pied stuff and I catch somebody's attention or you catch somebody's attention. Different breeders got different genes. A lot of people try to diverse their stuff and, there's tons, I wouldn't say tons, but there's a lot of people doing it, breeding and, it can be tricky, but if you study and understand a lot, you will pick up pretty easy of how to breed these animals, and you supply the right things.
And the breeding itself, I mean, let's be honest, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
When I was getting back into it and I felt rusty, I was looking around on YouTube and I was trying to find videos for how to breed retics, and there were very few. There was one that stood out because it was giving bad information, and the guy was saying something about females wagging their tails meant they were ready. I hadn't touched retics in 10 years, and I knew that was wrong. But then somebody else asked me one time, where could they find information on how to breed retics? And I was like, honestly, there's not a lot of info out there because it's that easy. They don't need to put info out there. You literally can throw two males, a male and a female together, and if they breed, they breed. If they don't, they don't.
It's true. I mean, it's kind of those things, where can these animals harm you? Absolutely. Is it a male that can harm you? Absolutely. Is it a female that can harm you? Absolutely. Can they harm each other? Absolutely.
Yes.
If you get misinformation and you get two males, you put them together, it's probably not going to end well. So I think it's just a lot of people just trying to do it, maybe not understanding fully of what it takes, to get your animal sexed, to know that you have the right animals to produce. Get it from a reliable person.
Right.
If it's a proven breeder, get a picture of it on eggs. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that is just going to help you in the long run to be a better breeder.
Gabriel asked about waiting for ovulation. The answer is no.
Yep.
Ovulation occurs after breeding. Typically, you can do it one of two ways. You can introduce a male to a female after she has stopped eating. One reason people do that is because their body is preparing to produce follicles. Another reason they do that is because it's just a safer time to introduce a male without worrying about the female trying to eat him. And after they have copulated, she will store the sperm in her body for a while. And at some point after that, she will ovulate. And that's when the follicles get fertilized by the male sperm that was put in her during breeding, anywhere from a couple of days, weeks, months prior to her ovulation. It's rare, but sometimes you'll see a female breed after ovulation, but that's rarely fruitful.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people pull their males probably a little too early as well.
Yep.
Just because you see that one lock. I mean, that female's just got to be in that perfect follicle building stage where that egg gets fertilized. So, people pull their males early and like, man, I had two locks. She's got to be gravid, and then they don't see that ovulation. So what I do personally is leave my males in. She's locking with her. He's all on her. He's interested. Normally when she's gravid, you'll see the swell. Maybe you don't see the ovulation swell, maybe not. But normally that male kind of loses interest in that female, or that female don't want no part of that male again. So she'll be bucking a little bit, and that male will be on the core end. She'll be on the hot end. And her, he'll be in the water bowl. And then then I normally, once I feel confident enough that I saw the swell and I know she's good, I'll take him out.
And
But it never hurts to just keep him in.
yeah, and something to add to that for Gabriel's benefit, if you see male and female locked up together, you're basically seeing their bodies. You're not really seeing the hemipines penetrate her cloaca. You don't really know if they're actually copulating or not. I've had several male-female lockups that I was like, oh, yes, I'm excited. But, she never ovulated. Some people say, well, they absorbed or reabsorbed. Maybe they never ovulate. Maybe they just never even locked up. Maybe the male was just trying but didn't get it in. Some males just aren't very good breeders, and sometimes the female is actually not ready.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. And you take you take chances when you buy animals, because you don't know what type of male that male may not be a good breeder, and it's just at that point you have to realize that. And we've had several males where they just never fathered a clutch, and they've been in females after female after female after female, and nothing happens. And they are males, proven males, and just don't want to breed.
Yeah.
But they'll push their face off, and you put them in with a female, and they don't push no more, but they don't lock. He's just hanging out with her. So it's a game in a sense of just, some males are just on it. When it's that time and you have females ready, he's arching. He comes a little more, gets a little more irritated.
Yeah.
And then you have puppy dog males where they're just, you can pull them out at any time. Don't have to use a hook, to your own. If you want to use that method, pull them out. They're super nice. You put them in with a female, he locks her. So they're just different attitudes throughout, all retics. Personally, I don't have a mean male that breeds for me. I have a couple mean females. I have a really mean Motley titanium female that is just not a happy camper. So I'll just keep my distance and love her from afar. Move her, go slow with her, and that's it. But a lot of times you see that, just debate in a sense of just male, female, what to get. You just got to make sure, for one, you're getting a female, or for one, you're getting a male. You know what you have. If you lack confidence in the beginning, don't get a big breeder. Start small, manage up. Grow these animals up. Make sure you're getting them from a reputable breeder. You can't get a snake from he said, she said, he said, she said, and then expect to have the 100% truth about the snake. There is people that just sell snakes, sell hets when there's not there. It's just come from a third person that Joe Blow used to own it, and I'm the third owner, and here it is, and this is what I was told it was. It doesn't mean he's lying. The guy that sold it could have been lying, or he could be lying, So it's just buy reputable. If it's a proven breeder and that person has proved it out, then they should be able to show you pictures of them on eggs, because we're all like little kids in candy stores. When a snake's on its eggs, we got to snap a picture. When they get a lock, we got to snap a picture. Well, for me, in a sense, but
I like to.
And that's the thing. I'm not gonna put. I won't ever put proven on a female if I didn't prove her out. I will tell you that the person I got it from says she's proven, and I don't have pictures, but I'm selling her as not proven. Or hey, this snake was sold to me. It no longer fits in my collection. This snake was sold to me as het purple. I have not proved it out, so I'm gonna sell it as pos het. But it was 100% het when this man that sold it to me told me. So it's just kind of just do the right thing. Don't get caught up in trying to make the money. Don't get caught up in getting a bad rap for yourself, because in theory, you may gain $50 at the time, but in reality, you may lose thousands of dollars because people don't want to mess with you.
Yeah, every transaction, every deal you make, you're putting your reputation on the line. And
absolutely,
sadly, the truth is you can't please everybody. You may tell somebody that it's het albino because it was produced by lavender. You don't really know if it's het white or purple. but then they breed it out, it produces white babies, and they go, oh, Noah said it was het purple. No, he said it was het lavender. You can't, or, het albino. You didn't know which
phase. Yeah, absolutely.
Which phase. But,
and that's also a super touchy subject where it's just, if it bred from a lavender, people look at it in the sense of, hey, I got a 50-50 shot of calling it purple or white. So let's just, a lot of people like purple, let's call it purple. And then it produces white. And then, that person may not like white. And then that happens. And then they're a little upset,
right.
Because it puts a damper in things. And, and that's just what it is, man. You just got to tell the truth. The truth is just, in the long run, will always be your best friend, just to tell the truth.
And that goes along the lines with dwarf retics from specific locations and locales and things like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to dredge up the past, but it's like I remember back in the day when anthrax first hit the market. Nerd had, they were the ones that originated it, and then they started marketing the het anthrax as granite backs. All of a sudden, out of the woodworks, everybody said they had a granite back.
Yeah.
And you could go on all the different forums and websites, King Snake and stuff like that. Everybody's posting pictures of normal retics, but everybody's got a granite back all of a sudden. And then dwarfs hit the market. And, some of them were unknown locations. And then the first Jamps hit the scene, and it was like, oh, wow, everybody's passing off retics that are going to hit 20 feet as dwarfs just to try and get a little extra money out of somebody. Based on that stuff, I've always had a hard time really trusting anybody unless they had a very, very solid reputation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of along the lines of as I get into snakes and, I got into retics, I found my niche and what I liked, and I found the people that supplied me with that niche, and I've been loyal customers to those people ever since. I do buy miscellaneous stuff here and there from other people, but like if I want something to better my collection, or I want new blood in my collection, I know where to go.
Yeah.
And that's just built through just communication, that's built through a friendship, that's built through just, I tell a lot of people once they buy a snake from me, you're considered like family in my sense. You're considered like snake family with me. You'll get the best deals from me because I just enjoy dealing with, repeat customers where it's just you already have that bond. You know how that person is. You get a lot of people hit your inbox of, hey, man, I got $200, but, I don't have a cage right now, but I got $200. I want to buy a snake first. Or hey, man, I get paid in the next 6 months. I'll get you some money. Send me this, this, and this. Let me see a snake's tail. Let me see his left eye. So you get a lot of people that's, tire kickers in your inbox. So when you find those customers and actually buy snakes from me, personally for me, that's, you got to cherish that, because it's like that person instilled enough trust in you for one to send you the money, to send them the snake, and then they like the quality of the animal. No one sees your collection, you know what I mean? No one sees how that snake was brought up, where that snake was living, how it was eating, but they trust you through the communication that you had with them. So it's just like when you started buying animals from me, when you got back in, it was easy. You just kind of told me what you wanted. We talked, and then you sent money. We sent snakes. You bought a lot. You came down here and picked them up. So it's like when people do that, it just makes it easier as a seller to also become a buyer and take that money and buy from someone else, because you're just investing it back into the hobby. In my sense, is what I'm doing a lot. I invest a lot of money.
You can kind of go and deal with tire kickers. And then you got to watch out for scammers. I mean, this last year, bless his heart, Gavin got taken at least once, maybe twice. And
Keith got taken a couple times. I mean, it's, some good deals come up, and it's just, man, people are just getting so clever. I mean, just with selling these animals and just, it's great scamming these animals, getting pictures. I mean, I've even seen where somebody will put their name on like a piece of paper under the animal, like Photoshop it under the animal, where it's like, to the naked eye, I mean, if you studied it, maybe you'd catch it, but like, somebody that just doesn't understand like those, things that people can do on a computer now, like you're thinking like, oh, he's got a piece of paper right there with my name on it. We're good.
Well, okay, hold up.
It's crazy.
You remember I did this with you at least once. And this is advice that I'm putting out there for everybody to follow. I don't care if you've been doing this for 20 years, 30 years, whatever. And it's not ironclad, it's not foolproof. It's just helpful, it's due diligence. It helps reduce the chances of getting scammed. And if you do get scammed, it still helps you protect yourself if you have to blast somebody later. If you're dealing with a seller,
I think I know where you're going with this.
If you're dealing with a seller, ask them to send you a video of them holding the snake saying, my name is Rob Clark. This is a super phantom. I'm sending this video to Noah Holland on today's date, April the 9th, 2021. And we're discussing a sale price of blah, blah, blah. It's female. Have them put all that information out there so that there's no photoshopping. You can't Photoshop that.
No, and to be honest, to be a seller nowadays, that should just be second nature. That should just be something just for a security standpoint for yourself to know off the bat, like, hey man, like this is the snake you want. Yo, what's up, Rob Clark? This is the snake you want. It's 2:15 in the morning, whatever. Here's the snake. I got this one or this one. This one's male. This one's female. If you got somebody there with you to hold the camera, you can do a pop, show them it's a male, show them it's a female, whatever. But just a video of you just showing the animal off and just like, back in the day, I used to do stupid stuff like, hey man, take a picture with that snake next to a paper towel roll.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, or give me a Sharpie marker in the picture with the snake. And that stuff like didn't click in, like, hold on, this dude can probably send you a video. A lot of phones send video of saying, hey, this is my name, this is the snake, this is your name. If you're interested, this is the price, whatever.
And the other thing is just check references. Like, I mean, I was referred to you and Keith through Jeff. So I already had a good reference on you guys before we ever even started talking. And, the reason I'm pitching this out there is I haven't been scammed at all since I got back into this, but I had 2 close calls. One close call. But one guy was in California, and I was very cautious. I took my time. I gauged him a little bit. The deal went through. I got a beautiful retick from him, paid a fair price. I'm happy. He's happy.
I can't remember who you're talking about.
But then there was another guy in Pennsylvania who I think came close to scamming me. He got cold feet.
And that's actually one I messaged you about.
Yes, sir.
Because I had seen something along the lines that y'all were talking. So I just reached out to you like, hey man, what do you know about this guy?
Yeah.
And that's why it's so good to not burn bridges and like have friends in the community, because somebody's always going to be talking to somebody.
But there was one, and I hate to throw people under the bus, but this is well known. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to say anybody's name.
Yeah, leave names out of it.
Yeah, but there was one guy that had messaged me, and this is another rule of thumb I use to avoid scammers. If somebody contacts me wanting to sell, I'm not buying. As a buyer, I'll come to you. But if you come to me as a seller, no deal, automatically. So 2 times that happened this year, and I avoided them. And one ended up, I think, scamming one of our friends that we've already talked about. And then another one did a chargeback on a credit card. And I was like, man, I was glad I avoided them. But at the same time, I felt guilty for not warning people and giving them
blasting. Yeah.
But I did,
dude, that's such like a touchy subject, because it's like, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want that reputation, because then people feel like if something doesn't go your way, you're gonna blast them. And I hate that that's like that in the community. But it's, you know, a lot of people just avoid confrontation because they want to make a sale, which is perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. But like, you know, like if you don't agree with something on a post, just slide me in a PM. No one else sees that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man,
Slide me in a PM where it's just like, yeah, just have a private conversation, you know. And I personally, I hate blasting people. I definitely don't want to do it. I don't think I've ever done it. But man, it sucks that we have to deal with people like that, especially with live animals, man. That sucks.
And I would have warned this guy that, hey, these scammers are out here, but I didn't really have anything concrete evidence to warn anybody about. I had
just other than he was fishy.
I had a suspicion, I had a feeling,
yeah,
but that was all. And then, you know, I passed them by and didn't do the deal, and then they go on and screw somebody else. But it's people like that in the community that we definitely need to watch out for. If anyone, that's because that money that they take from that breeder, that scammer is taking money away from somebody else that could have sold a snake with a reputation. I mean, scammers hurt us all. And yes, Nick, you're absolutely right. They need to be outed, blasted. If they're a scammer, they're no use to anybody. And we don't want to see our friends get scammed. We don't want to see business partners get scammed. They're parasites.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a touchy subject. It's tough, honestly, because I mean, if you get scammed, absolutely. Oh, look at the cat. He did a perfect meow. If you get scammed, absolutely blast that person. Like, let your fellow friends know, like, hey man, like this dude just took me for $500. Just be careful, you know. And they need to be outed in that group. They need to be out in all the groups, snake groups that they get in. But you know, like if you have speculation, I mean, you can just say, like, you know, just kind of monitor that person's post, and if somebody is messaging on it, just slide them a message like, hey man, look, this is where our conversation went. I didn't feel the best about it. Just be cautious, you know, because a lot of people may tell you like, hey man, piss off. You're just trying to get my deal. Piss off, back off. So I mean, you don't want to step on people's toes, but then again, you need to tell.
And then there's a fine line. Then there's a fine line about what constitutes scamming. I mean, a credit card chargeback, that's obviously a scam. Or you send somebody money, they don't ship you anything, then that's obviously a scam. But then you get people sometimes where the gender is mistaken, or there's a small mistake concerning the genetics or something like that. And
that needs to be handled private.
Yeah, and mistakes happen. I mean, that's just.
And a lot of good breeders, if you're a good breeder, you will make that right, and you will understand, hey, if you missex the snake, that is on you. I'll pay for shipping for it to come back, and then I'll ship you out the right sex, or hey, I'll send you a discount if you want, you know, some money back for, you know, say you got a female instead of a male, or if you just want to exchange, let me know.
Yeah.
Like that can be held in private, and I mean, if that person tells you like, hey, fuck off or whatever, but really it's on the buyer as well to check the animal. You pretty much, people should give like a 24-hour notice, like, hey, check the animal, make sure it's perfect, make sure it's not sick, nothing you don't like about it. You got 24 hours, make it all happen.
Yeah.
You know, but if it's 6-7 months down the line, it's just as much as your fault as it is the breeder's fault, because you're just trusting everybody's word. You should sex your snakes when they come in.
Yeah, it's like, I remember the one guy we were talking about that you and I discussed privately. He had been posting about a female retic that he had, and then a few weeks later, he's in a group wanting to know why is his female arching.
Yeah.
You know, he should have checked that animal out from the get-go.
For sure.
There's times where I don't care if a retic has great genetics and it's a good price, then I might say, screw it. You know, I don't care if this comes in as a male or female, but I'm going to double check it when it gets here, just so I sort of know how to cage it, how to handle it, how to feed it, because you do treat females and males a little bit differently. This is just part of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing too. Just, you know, a lot of people, you know, when they buy a snake, you know, they can lie and say they have it set up and everything, you know. Maybe we don't go in depth on investigating what they have and everything, but, you know, to common knowledge, if you're going to buy a $600 snake, I would hope you have your stuff in line for that animal, or $500. Or if you're going to spend a penny a period on a live animal, I would hope you have the proper setup for that animal.
Yeah.
And it's just those people sometimes will get a snake and, you know, and it'll die maybe a week, 2 weeks later. And that is like the fine line, man, of I don't understand, but it's like, you know, maybe this person's going to blast you. You know, a lot of people are just not the brightest when it comes to these animals, and they kill them. Maybe they don't give it heat, or maybe, you know, a rat chews it up or whatever.
You know, something.
Yeah, in a hot car, it dies, whatever. And that's the stuff, man, as a breeder, that it just sucks, because it always feels like the customer is always right. Which, I mean, in a sense, there's freak accidents that happen, man. Animals could just die to die. I understand that, you know, but like some people will kill animals, and we've had a few, you know, run-ins of this incident where people just kill animals. And it's just like, man, like I don't want to send them a replacement, or I don't want to send them money back, because, you know, if it was still here, it'd be alive.
Right.
So it's just in that fine line, man, where it's just, gosh, you don't really understand what that person's doing.
You as a breeder,
you got to send money back.
You as a breeder, you're sometimes occasionally purchasing animals.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're anything like me, you know that when you purchase that animal, you're accepting responsibility for it. If that animal dies in your care,
for sure.
or if that animal dies in my care, that's my responsibility. It's sad that, unfortunately, a lot of buyers don't understand that.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand if, like, the snake's sick and everything like that, but, like, you know, everybody says go to a vet. You know, I haven't had a lot of good vet instances in my times of keeping snakes. You know, a lot of vets specifically don't know what to do with a snake. So you just kind of get in contact with a lot of people that are doing snakes, and, you know, people got, you know, speculations of what could be happening, and, you know, fixes and this and that. And, luckily I know people that are really good with, you know, medicine and understanding injections and what could cure this and this and this. So it's just like, if you have a speculation that snake's sick, you know, maybe like go get it looked at, like by a friend, or like have somebody to back you up to say, like, hey man, like this snake's bubbling at the mouth, or hey man, this snake's hawking loogies on the glass, or this snake came in really cold. I'm going to monitor it for 24 or 48 hours, let you know if anything's happening. But it's just like, when you don't even give me feedback that you opened the box, and then you message me a week and a half later, and you say, hey man, snake's dead. It's like, what happened? Have you opened the box yet?
Yeah.
So it's like, as a buyer, you need to be responsible enough to, like, I know it sounds cheesy, but like, give a video back of you opening the box and being like, hey man, I'm getting the snake in. Here it is. Got the snake. It's a little cold to the touch. Or hey man, it looks perfect. It's warm. It looks great. And then, you know, I'm a big thing of just letting them chill, rest, give them a little bit. You know, a lot of people are stressing them out right away, put them in a cage, and they're handling them all the time. They're throwing live rats, live mice in there.
Letting kids handle
the snake out. Yeah, letting their kids handle them. It's getting a little rough house. Where it's just like, put the snake up, let it rest. I know you're enjoying it. Sit back, watch it, but let it rest for a little bit. Maybe offer it food. You know, I'm a big, like, 3 days to a week type person. After I get a snake in, I want to offer it food. You know, just depending. You know, because when you're shipping the snake, you don't want to ship it with a full belly, of course. So it's going to be a little hungrier. It's going to be a little hungrier. So, you know, 2 to 3 days you could get away with feeding it, or a week you get away feeding it. But like, when people are just got the setup, boom, they're holding it all day, they put it in this tank, and then they throw a mouse on it and, like, want it to eat. I'm like, man, that's so much stress that you're putting on a snake for no reason. Or it's just get it home, get it in the cage, let it heat up, let it do its thing, get used to where it's at, and then you can do all that down the road.
Yeah, and I do think these pythons to some extent are territorial. You know, that's where they get cage aggression. And I think they have to claim that area as their home before they necessarily feel like it's time to eat. You know,
Yeah, they got to understand that.
but
Explore it a little bit. You know, a lot of people do. You know, this could be a whole different topic of a baby snake, and they put it in, you know, a 8-foot cage, you know, with no hides, and just, you know, you got to make sure the animal feels secure. You know, that's why, you know, a lot of people hate on the tub style bins for babies, but it's dark, it's secure, it's got heat, it's got water, it's got food, it's got a hide sometimes. I mean, you got to understand, like, it's just so many different things people can do with snakes once you send them out. So that's just the fine line. Like you said, if the gender's messed up or the genetics is messed up, that's one thing. But, you know, if you kill a snake a week later, 5 days later, a month later, you know, and they want you to make it right, it's a fine line, dude.
yeah, and you know, I was thinking of this earlier. We as breeders sort of face a little ethical dilemma when we're choosing holdbacks versus animals we want to let go. You know, some breeders may want to hold back the animals that have the best appetites and then maybe sell the animals that don't necessarily eat as well. But the ethical dilemma is, as a breeder, you want to keep the best snakes for your breeding inventory, for your breeding collection, but then you're selling stuff that may not be absolutely the best representation of the breed, and then you have to worry about backlash for that, you know, because obviously the animal's health has to be good, has to be perfect before you let that animal go to a new home.
Yeah,
that's part of your
reputation. Sure. I got Nick saying, what, LOL?
Yeah, I was looking at that, and
yeah, I don't know what that means, Nick, so I'm going to say what to that, LOL.
We have a written policy they sign before we ship for all of them.
See, and that's honestly something that we've been looking into, and I know Jim does it as well. It's a written policy. That's crazy, Nick, because I never got that written policy, by the way. But it's a written policy that Jim does as well, where you got such long to inspect it. And actually, Nick did. I bought a pretty expensive male, and he called me. It was like, it's at the hub, pick it up. I'm like, dude, I'm in the parking lot. And I picked it up, and he was like, open it up. I was like, wait till I get home. He's like, nah, open it up right now. You got to open it up right now. Check it out. Make sure it's good. Opened it up. It looked great. So, I mean, yeah, in a way, you know, and that's one thing, you know, you just got to keep good contact with your customers as well, where it's just like, hey, I got the money. All right, man, see you. Check in, make sure the animal's all right, make sure it's getting proper heat, make sure they picked it up, make sure FedEx didn't get delayed. You know, a lot of people use Ship Your Reptiles because they handle all that for you.
And that's where it's good to have terms and conditions, policies published on a website. You know, I've paid for a website. Every once in a while, I spend 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, just fiddling with it, but I haven't launched it yet. But terms and conditions and policies is a page that every website should have, and it needs to be out there so that when you have a buyer that's, you know, spending money and purchasing an animal, the terms are there. If they didn't read it, that's on them. But at least it's published. You can know what your policies are. Like,
yeah, and that's definitely a need.
One of the best transactions I dealt with concerning that type of stuff was actually prehistoric pets. You know,
sure.
They stayed in contact. I got a lot of emails from their staff. They wanted to make sure somebody was there to receive the animal. I mean, and you can look on the policies page, and everything was very well explained and very well defined. You could tell they'd been through some shit with people doing stuff like that before.
Yeah, absolutely. With a big company like that, and that's something me and Keith have been talking about. We're trying to launch our website. We got it up. Of course, it's not completely updated with everything that's been going on right now, and with babies coming. So definitely need to get that policy page up, like Nick said, like you said, and definitely For sure. But I make sure when I do like payment plans, before you send me any money, I give you the goal of what has to happen, 25% non-refundable. Once you say you want the snake, you want the snake. It's kind of that way. Unless, certain circumstances, you can get out of that. In certain circumstances, just it goes by case. But yeah, he said pet peeve, no reply when they receive the snake. Hate the wait to reply. It's good. Yeah. That's something that just as a buyer you have to do. You have to reply back to the breeder, and the breeder has to reach out to you as well. You got to make problems known in the beginning. You got to make, you got to let them know like nothing's going wrong on my end. So if this animal's messed up, it's on you.
A lot of that,
and that's something as a seller I respect. Or it's just like you're making it easier on me.
Yeah.
Pick up your animal right on time. It's not like, hey man, I'm working till 6:30. I'll pick it up. The hub closes at 9. I'll pick it up at 9. Like, man, it's been sitting there all day. Where it's nice in the hub, I get it, but it's not. It's not a 4-foot cage with heat panel and water bowl and a hide.
And as a buyer, you can respect a seller who doesn't go at 9 a.m. to drop that snake off at FedEx.
That's Keith, man. That's Keith. He waits till the last minute to drop that snake off, so it's barely in FedEx.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the best way. That's how you know a good seller.
It is. Absolutely. He'll push his job. He'll do his 10 hours, and he'll go down clean, and then he'll call me like 8:30 driving to FedEx. I'm like, FedEx closes at 9, man. He's like, I'll get there about 8:50. We'll drop it off and make sure it ain't there that long and get it going.
Yeah.
But for sure.
That's a good way to be. But I don't know, man. I'm just glad to be back. I enjoy doing this. There's a lot of impacts.
For sure, same.
There's a lot of pitfalls. There's a lot of things for people getting into this hobby to be aware of, be wary of. I know it's said a million times over. You and I both agree with this. If you're in it for the money, you shouldn't be in it at all. But you also hear people say you can't get rich doing this. And it's not easy to do, but it is possible. Somebody does.
You could definitely do it, but it's kind of one of those things that it has to happen through like good labor. You got to put time in. You got to produce quality animals. You got to build quality friendships. You got to, do quality advertisement. You got to do everything right to make that happen. It's just not, hey, I'm going to spend $10,000 in snakes. I expect $100,000. It's like, buddy, that's not happening.
No.
It's people that are successful doing it with some of the best equipment, some of the best tools, the knowledge to know how to make money in this, but present their animals in the highest quality. So I think it all falls into, and you may make a lot of money, but guess what? Those people are spending a lot of money to make a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's like one of the hard things for people getting into this that they don't understand is that, yes, there's the startup costs, but those startup costs, they don't really go away. Some of that stuff you have to maintain over time, like food, increase the electric bill.
And then the more snakes you get, the bigger the food bill is going to be, the bigger the electric's going to be.
Well, that's what I was going to say is expansion costs. People don't understand that as your collection grows, your expenses grow. And you don't just go out here and buy another snake without having to buy another thermostat or another enclosure or another rat rack. It takes a lot of effort to sustain just one animal.
Especially those babies grown.
I was wanting to go back on the comments. I hate that we forgot this or skipped it. Gabriel had asked, how large are our Retic collections?
Cool. So Untitled Retics, me and Keith Stanball, we have 2 different locations. He's in Verona, Kentucky. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. We're the same company. He founded it. I'm just the measly peasant to the company. But the Verona company is our main or Verona location is our main part of the company. He's probably got Probably 200 retics, some boas, some anacondas, here and there, some mixed things. So he's definitely got the bigger of the collection, and that comes with time, and he spent time and worked hard getting everything he's got, and luckily for me enough, he's taught me what I need to know, and allowed me to be part of his business. And I think roughly I have probably 15 adults. With last year I produced 121 babies, and I got a few grow ups here and there, but I'm way smaller on the scale, and that's to be more involved with the community, like doing these lives and being able to sell, where Keith is more of on the breeder aspect of it. He does a lot of the pairings. So, I mean, I do all the pairings at my house, but, it all goes into thought consideration with each other. So we're always on the phone yakking about, hey, such and such is off food. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
You want to go for a project? You want to go for babies now? What do you want to do? And that's just something's just cool with our relationship, where it's just like he has the utmost faith in me, and I got the utmost faith in him, where it's just like anything I say, he's like, I'm cool with it, man. I'm game. Let's do it.
That's amazing.
So he's never held me back.
That's amazing, because to me, I've always found that partnerships can be extremely difficult, especially if any one of the two people is petty about things like minor expenses. It can fall apart in a heartbeat,
Man, he's been awesome. Yeah, like I can't. I'll never be able to thank him enough. I mean, even if I produce babies for him, I mean, it's been like just a dream working with him, and he's just easy to get along with. Very cool. I mean, the expenses on things is just it's just minor stuff to us. We just kind of blow that off. He buys stuff for me, I buy stuff for him, and it's all love.
Yeah. Well, Gabriel, to answer your question on my end, I've gotten to that point where I quit counting. I know it's
He's up there.
I know it's in the ballpark of 100, but there's a lot of eggs in the incubator. There's also a gravid female about to lay eggs. And the problem with asking somebody with a large collection how many snakes they have is it fluctuates. There's always a snake coming in, and there's always some snakes going out. So it fluctuates up and down, up and down. And the trend should always be slightly upwards, because I do want my collection to continue growing for a little while. I've got an idea of what max capacity here would be. I'm not there yet. And I will
just for fun, what do you think max capacity is? Because I have that question wrote down. What do you think is too much?
It depends on somebody's lifestyle. It depends on whether or not it's their full-time job or they have a day job. As of right now, I think max capacity for me on adult females is probably going to be around 50 females until I retire. If I can claw my way to retirement, I've got room for nearly 100 adult mature females here. And I've got open land that I can build on to add another facility. So
that's a lot.
That's where it's at. It's
I envy that.
It's gonna happen.
I mean, I could probably do it. But we've already talked about, me and you've already talked about this, where it's just like I'm just not like I'm not so like there yet. Like it's like more so just a crazy fun hobby for me. So like one of those people, like if it's work, I just get bogged down, man. So I just enjoy having my 15 females, and just producing really 100 babies is probably max for me that I really want to see. Because we have a few people that take babies, raise babies here and there, and do stuff for us, this and that.
Yeah.
But you know, we were on the upwards trend this year of maybe hitting maybe 700. And we both kind of thought to ourselves where it's just like that number would be cool to see it, but like it's just not realistic. He works a lot of hours. I work a lot of hours. You know, I got a kid coming. He's got, you know, he's got he's got a crazy schedule with work. You know, he's never really off the clock. He gets calls, this and that. You know, he's got a lot of land. He mows. You know, he's got a lot of land and a lot of stuff to take care of. Obviously, his wife was sick and stuff like that. So I mean, he kind of understands. You know, that's probably not our best method, but we are going to produce quite a bit of babies. But a lot of the stuff, man, we'll have a lot of holdbacks this year. That's kind of what we giggle about and talk about like a lot, where it's just like, hey, this breeding's happening. Here goes another couple holdbacks, and it's like, well, I need a whole wall for holdbacks.
Yeah.
It's like this year, I said it last year. This year is going to be the holdback year. I mean, a lot of cool stuff personally that's happening here, and definitely a lot there. So a lot of it's to better the future for our projects, but still making a lot of cool clutches that a lot of people will like.
Well, it all comes at a cost, and I don't just mean money. I wake up in the mornings. If I got to go to work, I go to work. I do my day job. I get things done. I try to get home as quickly as I can. As soon as I get home, it's checking on every head, every animal that's here. I raise my own chickens. I've got rat racks, you know, tons of rats, and, you know, I got to make sure all that stuff's good, on top of checking on the snakes and making sure that everything's got fresh water. One thing I do fall behind on sometimes, which I need to work on, is keeping the larger enclosures cleaned out. But I'm getting caught up on that too. But then, man, I'm having to come out here and cut PVC and build enclosures and meet customers.
Oh, you got a lot that takes your time for real. So I commend you. You do a lot. You do a lot more than I probably could even think about doing, because I'd say fuck it.
At some point, and this is what's going to happen for me, and I don't mean to alarm any customers out there that are interested in my enclosures, but as things progressively get better and better and better on the Python end, I will eventually taper off and build less enclosures for customers.
Yeah, kind of set yourself on a cert order.
Yeah, you know, I'll try to keep a limitation on myself, and to achieve that, I may go up on my prices so that I receive fewer orders, and then have something that justifies my time a little bit more. But I mean, to me, taking care of the actual pythons themselves is the easy part. Where I feel stressed and get anxiety is, okay, this person's ordered $1,000 worth of enclosures from me, and they paid me a month ago, and I still haven't got that order done yet, and I start to freak out because somebody's paid me money. I take that very seriously.
It happens, yeah, absolutely. I mean, but in a sense, you know, if you go to like some of these bigger caging companies, they're not getting orders out till 6-7 months, man. So like, you know, your turnaround time's really good. I know Jim does cages as well. His turnaround times are really good. So I mean, and Jim's is kind of he has a place that does it for him in a sense. So, you know, for you to do it all yourself, I mean, man, like you said, and to say you sell your enclosures probably the cheapest around, I would say.
I try to be competitive with prices, and you know, this is just one example. I'm not trying to throw ads out there or anything like that, but 4x2x1, 4 feet long, 2 feet deep, 1 foot tall, with sliding plexiglass and the lock, $225, and I can throw in LEDs for another $25. You know,
yeah, I mean that's cheap.
It's competitive.
That's cheap.
It's competitive.
Yeah.
And I can turn those out, you know, 2 or 3 a day if I'm not busy, if, you know, I don't have a lot of other stuff to do, or it's a day off from work. But like tonight, I'm building 5 3-footers on the spot.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it would overwhelm me as well. So I commend you. Hats off to you because I probably couldn't do it.
Gabriel said he ordered his in November. Wow.
See, I told you, man, the caging, and that's also crazy. I meant to ask you too, like with pricing going up and stuff like that, you know, as PVC gone up in price, like, you know, plywood is, whoo, that bad boy is fluctuated.
I just ordered a new pallet. I won't disclose exact prices. I won't disclose exact specs.
No, definitely not.
But
Definitely not.
ballparkish, $4,000 worth of materials. And my sales guy that I talked to and dealt with said that I'd ordered it just in time. They have a memo or an email that says they're looking at a 25% price hike coming up, and that I may go ahead and increase prices to ease customers into that or to budget for the next PVC purchase.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, because that's stuff ain't cheap. So I mean, and especially with prices going up, I mean, you know, I think a lot of people will understand if your prices go up in cages because the material is going up, you know, and to the sense like you were saying, if you're buying, if you're getting your income cut, you know, then it's not worth your time in a sense. You got other things you need to be doing. So
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I know you're selling a lot of enclosures, and I know you probably got a lot of return customers that are wanting more and more. Because, you know, some people fill you out with like, hey, man, I just want to get one. I want to see the quality. I want it here. And then, bam, somebody's like, okay, I like them. Give me 25.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, definitely turn customers don't understand. I mean, you got to understand in today's age. I mean, look at gas.
One of the beauties is the added sales pitch. I haven't thrown this out there to anybody yet, but if I wanted to, if I was hurting for business, I could always say, okay, buy a Retic enclosure combo, you know.
Yeah, there you go. And that's actually a really good idea.
But I don't know if I'm going to do that or not because I'm so busy now.
That'll cost you to build more cages.
My phone would blow up like a nuclear bomb. Yeah, I don't need it. I really don't.
Well, you heard it here. You heard it here, folks. Rob is offering. I'm just messing with
No. No, not
yeah.
yet.
Well, I mean, we talked about quite a bit on this episode. I mean, we're going on almost, you know, an hour and a half, hour and 40. So
yeah, we've kind of rambled a little bit, but I think we've done an okay job covering a few good topics, and we avoided some subjects. And,
absolutely.
You know, hitting things on a positive note is what it's all about, and gearing this towards newcomers, trying to welcome people into the community, trying to be supportive and encouraging. I know that some of this stuff we've talked about may be common sense and redundant to veteran breeders, but, you know, veteran breeders, they already know it all. There's nothing we can teach them.
Nope, true. He said feeding. We'll get into all that. We're just scratching the surface because we were supposed to be a little more consistent, but like I said, with everything going on with me, and then Rob's got a lot of enclosures to build, we just kind of took a small break. I know it was right after the first episode, but like now everything's getting a little smoother. We're gonna start coming out more often with the videos, and, you know, communicate more with you guys, and just this is what we want. We want a lot of comments. We want a lot of feedback. We want you all to pick the topics. We want to talk about what you all want to talk about. And definitely it's not just me talking to Rob. We just want to interact with you all, and we just want to get, you know, caught up, put faces with names, and just understand everybody in the community and what you're in it for, and, you know, what you got. So like I said, we will be adding people on. Obviously, this is just our second one. We just want to kind of breeze through certain topics and talk to a few people and see about getting people on, because we just don't want to go after the top dogs all the time. I want to get entry people in here too, to kind of see their experience on getting in the Retic community or getting in the snake community, period. So we may bring a couple, you know, odd-end people that people's never heard of, And I think that is the cool part.
Yeah.
Of just understanding someone else that I don't know a lot of. Because, you know, a lot of these guys, you know them, you talk to them a lot, but, like, I want to talk to people I don't really know and understand, you know, their motive for getting in the hobby.
Right. Yeah, I mentioned one name to you, and I saw him check in. I don't know if he's still watching or not, but I think he would be a good person to bring on and talk to, since this was his first year breeding, and he knows that he's got a standing invitation.
Yeah, he knows. He knows. A little camera shy right now.
Yeah, that's him.
We'll get him on here.
So
He'll open up. We'll get him on here. But yeah, we're gonna add a few people. Obviously, I want to bring, you know, Keith, Jim Hardesty. I'd love to have Nick on, but he's probably scared to death of a camera or don't even know how to work it. And then we'll bring a few people on and talk. But we're gonna wrap this episode up, and
hey, Gabriel,
we're gonna
we'll
talk a little bit after this.
Looking at Gabriel's comments here, he's wanting a discussion about feeding.
Well, bam, we'll start out the next one with feeding, Gabriel. I'll write it down right now. Tune into the next one. We're going to talk after this and give you all a set date, if we can, and a time for the next one. So we appreciate everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.